All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Willow City Council regular meeting on August 25th, 2026. We'll call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. First up, Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Lowe, will you please lead us? Pledge
Individual.
All right. Next up, we have the oath of office, newly appointed Councilmember John Lowe.
I, Lowe, solemnly swear I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of California, against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation, purpose of evasion. I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to.
Welcome.
Congratulations and welcome. All right. Arlene, next we will have roll call, please.
Sure. Mayor Hudson,
Present.
Vice Mayor Thomas,
Present.
Councilmember Hanson,
Here.
Councilmember Pride. Here. Councilmember Lowe.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay. City Manager, any changes to the agenda?
Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council, I just wanted to recommend that maybe the council would like to continue items 6G through 6H to the September 8th meeting. It's come to my attention that there are some typogrammatical errors in those job classifications. And I thought the council might just want to let the staff go through it with a fine tooth comb and bring it back on the 8th. However, it would be helpful to approve the police chief job classification since there is later in the agenda a request for recruitment of a new police chief.
Okay. And you said 6G and 6H?
6G through 6
through J?
Sorry, 6G through J. Yes,
okay,
that's correct.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you.
Do you need consensus from the council on that?
I believe, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I would go ahead and.
I would
Okay.
go ahead and just move that we approve those changes to the agenda so that we can get those looked at more thoroughly.
Second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0. All right. With that, next up, we have public comment and consent calendar forum. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved with a single vote unless removed for separate discussion by the council or city manager. Individuals wishing to speak on consent items or matters not on the agenda are asked to complete a speaker card and submit it to the city clerk. All remarks shall be directed to the mayor and council members and are limited to 3 minutes. By law, the council cannot discuss or take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. We have item 6A, register approval, 6B, minutes approval, 6C, oppose Assembly Bill 1383, PEPRA, item 6D as in David, Oak Street and Madrone Manor Street Pavement Project, item 6E, Rural Economic Development Strategy and Business Attraction Project, item 6F, Police Chief Job Classification and Salary Schedule, item 6K, On-Call General Building and Civil Plan Check Services, item 6L, Willows Police Department and Post Recertification, item 6M, Chapter 2.65 of the Willows Municipal Code, Item 6N, Lexi Pole subscription for Willis Police Department. With that, if there's any questions from the council or any items that they wish to be pulled,
I would like to pull item 6F, the police chief job classification. I just have some items in the job description that I want to have cleaned up.
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment about 6E. I don't necessarily need to pull the item.
okay?
We've done many rural economic development studies throughout Willows over the last 25 years. I've participated in several of those. Often they ended up collecting dust on a shelf. This particular study looks like it actually creates some deliverables, which my question to staff would be, do they have the bandwidth to actually effect whatever the recommendations are? So my only comment would be, I would recommend in the future that the council consider maybe looking at an economic development subcommittee, much like the finance committee, or actually hiring a part-time economic development strategist that can actually follow up on some of that information. I think this is it's grant funded. Reading the package, it looks like it has some good deliverables and actual information that we can actually put to work, but we need somebody to put it to work. So I would, that would be my comment, that after we've done this, the council at another time actually look at figuring out how we can actually affect that document once it's done. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any other items need to be pulled? With that, I'm going to request that we pull item 6C. And Charlie, oppose Assembly Bill 1383. All right. Any further questions from the council regarding the consent calendar?
No, actually, the only last one that I want to, and again, I don't want to pull it, is item 6K, the on-call general building and civil plan check services. There wasn't a lot of information in our packet on those, and we will be creating contracts with each of these individuals. I just know that I like to kind of see the end result of what those contracts look like. So as we put those together, not that it's just the money, but deliverables are also the turnaround times, all the things they promised in their proposals, that we actually get those into those on-call agreements so we can hold them accountable, not just on price. We're doing these on-call agreements for the benefit of the audience so that when we have a building application or some kind of a project, we've always just had one company that we went to for all of the plan checks, all of that stuff. Now we're going out and we're potentially going to, if we approve this tonight, have 5 additional companies on contracts that we can look and see who's the best company to look at doing the plan checks for this specific project, which should make things more timely. We can turn projects around more quickly, a little more competitive, and that they've bid it. So it gives Joe, our community development director, a lot more flexibility in getting those projects moved through. So again, I'm very much contract minded. It bothers me a little bit when we don't have those things to look at in our packet. I don't like to see things and not be able to see more about them. In future, I think on an item like this, I'd like to see maybe at least the summaries of the analysis for who we're looking at actually going with, which I'd ask questions about that prior to the meeting, just wanting to see a little bit more before we say yay or nay. So just wanted to comment on that. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I will open this up to public comment, and this is for any items on the consent calendar or items that are not on the agenda. And just remember that items 6C, 6F, 6G, 6H, 6I, and 6J are not on the consent calendar item at this time. So is there any public comment?
I have Isaiah Rossi.
Somebody else?
Go ahead, Isaiah.
Okay, so basically the ones I wanted to talk about were out of the agenda, but it, correct me if I'm wrong, but let's see if I can find it here. I'm sorry. For the reestablishment of the police building, you guys are trying to make it this building again. Will this building even accept another police department due to the size of it? Because we have City Hall where the Willows Police Department used to be. or are you guys just looking at a new office for them? I think it's on the board. I'm not sure. I may have read it wrong.
Skylar, you're good. I think that's a discussion and action calendar item. Yes, that's item 7B. So that's going to come back up later as far as the tenant improvements.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Joyce Sander.
I come here every once in a while. And first of all, I'd like to thank the young man here that was kind enough to apply and be on the city council. And I'd like to thank you for your time, though I don't always agree with you. The other thing, an observation. My humble mind thought that you were supposed to tell our city manager what to do, and she was going to give you input. What I've been getting, because I've been coming more frequently, is that she's telling you what to do more so. I mean, I could be wrong, but I appreciate you listening to me. And the other thing that's still kind of sticking in my throat is the sewage thing and the billing and all that expense. And I just hope they all pay their bills, since they don't all own the properties that the sewage bill will be coming. So again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Michelle Knight. 6C.
So regarding
I'm sorry, that one was pulled. We'll listen to it. We'll have your comment on that one.
6C, okay.
Yes. How about 6F?
So 6F now?
That would be the police chief.
6F is also pulled.
6F is full.
sorry.
What about 6L and 6N?
Go for it.
You're good on those ones.
Okay, great. Thank you. So regarding 6L, I just wanted to say that I support the recommendation that the city participate in the California Post program. I'm very familiar with that program, having previously served as a training manager in my professional career prior to retirement. Post provides an excellent and comprehensive training program for law enforcement officers and offers significant benefits to a newly reestablished police department. In addition to ensuring that officers receive high quality standardized training, participation in the program can provide reimbursement to the city for eligible training expenses, thereby helping to offset the department's overall training costs. Participation in POST also provides the city with access to establish post-certified background investigation and hiring processes. These procedures are highly regarded within the law enforcement profession and can help ensure that the department recruits and hires qualified candidates who meet appropriate professional standards. Finally, participation in POST program can help reduce the city's overall exposure to liability by ensuring that officers receive standardized training and that appropriate hiring and background investigation practices are followed. For these reasons, I strongly support the city's participation in the POST program. I believe it would provide substantial financial, operational, and risk management benefits as the city works to rebuild and establish a professional and effective police department. So I just wanted to support you guys in that and share that with the public. I also support the recommendation for the city to contract with Lexipol Incorporated for the purposes of developing and reestablishing and maintaining current policies and procedures for the newly reestablished police department. I'm very familiar with the Lexipol program, having extensively utilized it during my previous professional career in a management capacity prior to retirement. Lexipol is a well-established and widely recognized resource used by numerous law enforcement agencies throughout California. In my experience, the program is both comprehensive and user-friendly while providing agencies with the ability to maintain policies that are consistent with applicable federal and California laws, regulations, and recognized law enforcement standards. Another significant benefit in the program's ability is to assist the department in tracking employee policy review, acknowledgement, and compliance. Maintaining documentation that personnel have received, reviewed, and acknowledged the department policy is an important administrative function and can help reduce the city's potential exposure to liability. I also found Lexipol's flexibility and ongoing support to be exceptional compared to other management programs I utilized during my previous career. The ability to maintain current policies while receiving ongoing updates and professional support is particularly valuable for a newly reestablished police department that is building its policies and procedures from the ground up. For these reasons, I strongly support the city's authorization to contract with and participate in the Lexipol program. I believe it will provide the department with a comprehensive policy management resource while strengthening operational consistency, accountability, and risk management. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Alves,
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
About is the construction. Did that go out to bid?
For what construction?
The repayment
Yes.
Yes,
did-
it did. Mhm.
did. Okay, I must have just missed it. But who made the decision on which streets got done?
I'm sorry. I still couldn't hear you.
Who made the decision on which streets needed to be done?
That's based off of a study that we had done. How many years ago was that? It's based off of what we're able to actually get done, how much essentially blacktop we're able to get
I'm
covered.
just curious.
Yeah.
There's only 2 residents on that street. One of them, there's driveways off of Marshall. And the other one doesn't even have a driveway. But other than that, it's just being used for a parking lot. And you well know, drive around this town, there's others run a business that could use a little attention too.
Well, I would agree with you that there's a lot of streets in this town that could use a lot of support. Joe, you probably have a better answer than I can answer this one from up
Yeah,
here.
so we go off of a pavement condition index, which is a rating of the roads. We've been doing some rehabilitation, which is kind of top covering medium damaged roads, and the council decided they want to go with some full rehabilitation. So unfortunately, with the money that we have available in our gas tax accounts, that's kind of the maximum we can afford at this point is those stretches of road.
So essentially it's because Oak is so far.
It's very low on the list. Yes,
Yeah.
correct. It's very, very low. We do have a grant that did the plans and specs for those roads. It actually saved us a good amount of money to be able
Okay.
to do that. And we are looking at getting plans and specs to go from in front of the sheriff's station to Lassen Street. Get that
Okay.
done.
Okay, so we are going to be able to go from Marshall all the way to Lassen?
No.
Okay,
So
just still to Murdoch.
the
Boulevard.
plans and specs will cover to Lassen, and then
Got
we'll try to identify construction funding to finish out that other terrible piece of road there.
Gotcha. Okay. Any more public comment? No more? Okay. With that, I will give it to the council.
I would move that we approve consent items 6A, B, D, E, K, L, M, and N as presented.
I have a first. Is there a second?
Second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
could you repeat which?
A, B, D, E, K, L, M, and N. I think I checked it twice.
Yeah,
I have.
yeah,
That's
correct.
I have that as correct too.
That's it. Second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
I pulled C, she pulled F, and then we're postponing
Okay.
G, H, I, J.
Okay.
Sorry, it reminded me of teaching my kids the ABCs and they miss letters. So
That was hard. Just going.
that's why I was giggling. So we have a first and a second to approve items 6A, 6B. I'm going to mess it up. 6D, 6E, 6K, 6L, 6M, 6N. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion pass. Next item up is item 6C, Opposed Assembly Bill 1383. The recommended action on this is adopt a resolution opposing Assembly Bill 1383 relating to public employees' retirement benefits and proposed changes to the Public Employees Pension Reform Act of 2013, PEPRA, and authorize the city manager or designee to transmit the city's opposition to the governor, the city's state legislative representatives, the bill's author, and appropriate legislative committees, and the League of California and other interested parties. Contacted this one is Marty Brown. You want to go, or do you just want me to voice my
Yeah.
concern on this one?
At some presentation that the whole
Oh,
point of this was just the cost, the
Okay.
city's increased cost.
So I did read what was being requested here on item 6C. It is in opposition to a bill that essentially brings it affect our fire department and our soon-to-be police department, and essentially changes their retirement from the newer Pepper style and goes back to what do you guys call that? The classic version of it. It builds them up faster. They're able to retire sooner. My opposition to this was the top 2 paid salaries in California are responsible for the retirement plan, totaling $1.3 million between the 2 of their salary. I cannot oppose nor be in favor of this bill. However, the gross negligence of managing the funds is a true detriment to the city, causing us to finance an unfunded pension liability with our bond. I believe this is not a matter for the council to decide, but individuals to call their assembly members to voice their concerns. So that's where I stand on it. Personally, I'm always in favor of doing the best for my employees that I can do. They're our public servants and they're here to do our best they can for us. And so I don't like the idea of hamstringing their retirement. So that's where I'm at, and I will leave it up with the council if they have any questions or comments that they would like to.
I just wanted to mention that
Mhm.
that the bill also impacts executive management staff. It is not just police and fire. It raises the cap of what's pensionable for management staff as well as police and fire.
Understand?
And the challenge for a city is that as we have these, it's a cost as our people retire, and it becomes a cost that's very, very difficult to cover without taking away from other services. So I totally hear what Mayor Hudson's saying as we're looking to provide the best benefit packages to our employees that we can. As these legislative changes occur, it puts a burden on the municipalities down the road that then we're struggling to pay those obligations. If Matt Busby was still sitting in the chair, he would say, if it wasn't for, if PERS would just manage these funds better, it would make our lives so much easier. So I hear what you're saying. I also know that that's a struggle that we've had financially. And unfortunately, I don't think individuals will call or even be aware of this legislation. Are the fire unions opposing it? Do you know, Mayor, if they're actively protecting their interests by opposing it?
I have zero idea.
Okay. Well, I know from my perspective, again, people go, well, there's never easy answers up here. There just aren't. But when people go into a profession, they look at many things. And I just think government benefits are becoming unsustainable over time. And so that's just one of the many things that we have to manage. I would be in favor of this with my city council hat on, protecting the financial interests of the city, that we oppose it. If we're looking to take the best care of our employees we can, maybe that's on the salary end of things and not so much on the retirement end, or looking at 401ks or looking at other options for them to have a retirement without putting everything into a PERS-based, expensive, long-term financial nightmare.
And I just found my additional notes. So Stephen Gilmore, who is the Chief Investment Officer for the Public Employees Retirement System, in 2025, his total benefit package was $740,000. Marcy Frost, CEO, was at $620,000. So those are the people that are managing this, and they're mismanaging it. So now we are paying on a bond because we had to fix their screw up. To me, that's where the real problem lies, not whether or not we should be providing a better retirement program. Yes, ma'am.
If I could just add that, as Councilmember Pride was asking who supports it, it is authored by Assemblymember Tina McKinner, but it is primarily sponsored by California Professional Firefighters, with strong backing from public safety and labor groups like PORAC, Peace Officers Research Association of California, and SEBA, which is Sheriff's Employees. So there is strong law enforcement support for the bill and the passage of it.
I wonder if that same support could be geared towards what you're saying is just the PERS reform, with what's going on. That's really where the problem exists. I don't disagree with you. How do we
It
fix
needs to be
the-
like our jobs. You're in here for a couple of years and you get your ass caught when it's time. Sorry for my language.
Well, and you get
That's split.
$250 a month
I
to do it
apologize.
instead of 740,000, right?
Yeah. So with that, I will Request any public comment regarding item 6C?
Michelle Knight.
Within the attached document submitted by the city manager, it states, in addition to the city's future police-related pension obligations, AB 1383 could have a substantial long-term impact on the city's existing CalPERS obligation for fire personnel as well as executive management team. For example, the cumulative impact of enhanced public safety retirement benefits could increase the city's fire CalPERS costs by approximately 1.5 million over time, based on current estimates. In my opinion, this statement appears to be inflammatory, exaggerated, and potentially misleading. The City of Willow's current total budget for the fire department is approximately $954,466, of which $61,595 is allocated toward CalPERS retirement costs. Given these figures, the assertion that the proposed assembly bill could cost the city $1.5 million warrants further clarification. If the legislation were to increase retirement costs by a specific or specified percentage, the actual fiscal impact would depend on the percentage ultimately established. While that percentage has not yet been defined, I am not aware of historical examples in which a change of this nature has resulted in such an extraordinary increase in an agency's overall retirement costs. Because the City of Willows does not currently have a police department, I also reviewed the retirement costs budgeted for the City of Orland for its police officers. Orland's current budget allocates approximately $533,163 towards police officers' retirement costs this budget year. Based on these figures, it seems difficult to reconcile how the proposed legislation could cost or result in an increase to $1.5 million. Even if officers were provided a more favorable retirement, such as 3% at 55, which, by the way, Colusa County still has their safety retirement right now. I just want you guys to know that. Who we will be competing with for officers. For these reasons, I believe the projected $1.5 million figure should be supported by specific calculations, assumptions, and documentation before it is presented as the anticipated financial impact of the proposed legislation. Why do I care about all of this, you may wonder? I care because these issues directly affect the city's future ability to recruit, retain qualified police officers. To build and maintain an effective department, we must remain competitive in the compensation and benefits we offer. If our benefits package is not competitive with neighboring agencies, we may struggle to attract qualified candidates, and equally important, to retain the experienced officers we will have invested in. Lastly, you must seriously consider the importance of ensuring that officers are able to retire when the appropriate time comes. We cannot reasonably expect elderly officers to continue responding to dangerous and physically demanding situations, including violent crimes involving armed suspects or domestic violence incidents, when doing so may compromise their safety or their ability to perform their duties effectively. I would also like to add that California legislatures classify incarcerated criminals as elderly beginning at the age of 50. Based on their age criterion, have implemented policies allowing certain elderly inmates at age 50 to be considered for release from prison. We should also recognize our responsibility to take care of the men and women who put their lives on the line every day to protect our community. Providing a fair and competitive retirement benefit is not only an investment in the future of our police and fire departments, it is a way of recognizing the dedication and sacrifices these officers and fire personnel make throughout their careers.
Time.
For these reasons, I respectfully ask you to consider rejecting the city manager's request and instead support AB 1383. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? That's it. I will give it to the
Mr.
pleasure of the council.
Mr. Mayor, you ready for more council comments?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. I had some. Complicated issue. I agree with your comments, Evan, and your comments, Lori. How's that for agreeing with everything? Looking around the room, I don't want to slight anyone, but I believe there are 4 of us and one to be honorably retired public safety members in the audience tonight, at least. I being one of them after a long career in law enforcement, and those in the public safety business can attest to that, yeah, I had a great career. You know, it's fantastic, but it's got the flip side, right? The, on the dangerous side and the health risk side for sure. Yeah. So I'm a PERS classic retiree and semi-retired. I'm still involved in law enforcement as a trainer, although I am honorably retired after a long career. So Evan, I completely understand your comments. Lori, I completely understand your comments. I understand the city's position, city management's position as well, because it is costly. PEPRA and the CalPERS changes when PEPRA came in approximately 2014. It saved municipalities such as ours from insolvency, what it did, right? And as Marty read, and I was also aware that the major unions are endorsing this for obvious reasons. Yeah, I earned my retirement, and I completely understand. I'm not in favor of submitting a letter of support. I'm going to remain publicly neutral on that. I know, Evan, you mentioned that the City of Willows several years ago, we went through the pension obligation bond process, which I was a member of the council then, which saved our city from insolvency because of the unfunded liabilities. So back to the comments, I've been harping for I don't know how many years up here about the mismanagement of CalPERS, and Lori attested that, Evan attested that. CalPERS is mismanaged and has been mismanaged for many, many years. You mentioned the salaries there of the leadership of CalPERS. It's insane. So CalPERS has a luxury, though, of putting their problems, their financial problems, when they don't meet their investment returns because of their poor choice of investments and their politically correct investment policies, which doesn't make any sense, rather than investing in good old-fashioned American lawful companies. They play the political game. So they're not doing their job. That board is not doing their job, and the majority of the board, I should say, and they haven't been doing their job for a number of years. So if they did their jobs, we wouldn't even be having this discussion in my mind. So I am not in favor of officially opposing this as a city council member. I understand from a budget perspective, yes, we're talking significant money in the future down the road. That's unfortunate. I'm sure this, I don't know, I haven't checked the status of this legislation in the last few days, but I'm sure it'll eventually most likely be signed by the governor. But I agree with your comments, Evan. I just wanted to make my thoughts known that I understand the financial implications. However, to put the financial implications and in my distaste, and I'm speaking for myself, not for the City of Willows or the Willows City Council, my extreme displeasure of the CalPERS board and their investment policies, because it's affecting every one of us as it affects every CalPERS employee, it affects every CalPERS employer, and it affects the taxpayers of the state of California, and it affects every city and county municipality in the state of California. So I understand both sides of it, but I will remain neutral on this as well. That's all I had to say.
Thank you.
Thanks for bearing with me.
Vice Mayor, do you have any comments?
The retirement system is, from the government standpoint, really generous. And I understand the need for it. Lowering it for 2 years, I just, fiscally, I can't not support sending the letter of opposition. So I would move to approve the letter.
Councilmember Pride?
I
Any
don't
further
have anything
comment?
further. No.
Councilmember Lowe?
I think the staff recommendation on this is sound. AB 1383 is really a pension bomb for the city. That 1.5 million is what that reflects is the increase in the UAL for about year 15 when the retirements start rolling in. And when you hire a police force with 10 to 12 or 13 additional, that increases our cost by about 60K a year just for those police officers, another 28K a year for the fire department. Sacramento has made some questionable decisions when it comes to pension funds, and the cities and small towns in California pay the price for that, and you as a taxpayer pay the price for that. It's a significant cost, and it affects our ability to hire additional staff, additional police officers. So I believe this is in the Senate right now. I don't know that it's before the governor. But again, opposing this is in line with our strategic financial plan for fiscal stability for the city. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. With that, we will do a roll call vote.
We have a
Do
motion.
we have a
Oh,
second?
I have a motion. Sorry.
I would move to approve the resolution of the City Council of the City of Willows opposing Assembly Bill 1383, McKinner, relating to the Public Employees Retirement Benefits and changes to the Public Employees Pension Reform Act of 2013.
I have a first. Is there a second?
Second motion.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, with that, we'll do a roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Thomas,
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe, Councilmember Lowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Hanson,
Nay.
Councilmember Pride,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Nay. Motion passed 3-2. All right. And then next up, item 6F, Police Chief Job Classification and Salary Schedule, recommended action. Approve the Police Chief Job Classification and Salary Schedule as part of the reestablishment of the Willows Police Department. Councilmember Pride. Councilmember Pride, would you like to go first?
I can. So we had got an updated set of job descriptions yesterday to take a look at for all of the police officers. I finally had a chance to really review this one today. Was grateful that Mr. Maloney was actually here this afternoon because I had questions. I don't know if you've all had a chance to read the full job description, but if you look at the second page actually it's the third page, starts with education at the top. And talking with Mr. Maloney, some of the questions I just had is, do we really need to require a bachelor's degree or should that just be desirable? I think after my conversation with Mike, there's a lot of things a degree does that further defines that candidate, that shows their ability to do critical thinking and different things. I could go either way on this. My concern was it might be a little bit of a deterrent in attracting those. If you don't have it, you're just out, sort of a thing. So I'm not necessarily advocating for change. I did have a concern on that. Under license and certificate, the first bullet, Mike agreed that we can modify that sentence to just say possession of a valid California driver's license, period. The rest of that went on to talk about categories necessary to perform additional duties. And he said there really are no other licensing requirements for driving police cars or anything. And we don't typically require the person to have their own personal automobile insurance, I didn't think. So that didn't seem necessary. If you get down under knowledge of, the first bullet under knowledge of, the last portion of that first bullet should be struck. This just got left in from a job description, like happens sometimes. So we would stop after animal control and delete community services, cultural arts, leisure time, and recreation administration. Although I can't, Mike. Okay, we'll leave community service. Oh, that makes sense because I'm always thinking of community services being community development.
I'm sorry, Lori, I missed what you.
We're under knowledge of on page 3, first bullet.
Right, okay.
Last part of that first bullet, we'd stop at community services and strike cultural arts, leisure time, and recreation administration.
Okay.
Those were really the main ones. I think, I had some other questions. Again, I don't understand totally the role of a police chief. So I'm glad you were here and I could ask those questions. With that, there's a couple little typos. So maybe staff just wants to look it over for those. That was why I wanted to pull it, just to get those cleaned up.
So the four-year degree, it's an equivalent to graduation from a college or university. It does not state that they're required to have a bachelor's degree.
It says
It's
Possession.
the way I would,
possession of a bachelor's degree from an accredited college, university with major work in public business administration, criminal justice, or related field is required. Are you looking at the revised ones we got yesterday?
I'm not, I'm looking at the one that was in my initial
They
agenda.
were
packet.
emailed to us and they're in the fat packet on your dais.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that, there were major changes from the first ones to the second set that we got yesterday across the board. So with that, I'm fine with it. I don't have any other additional questions. Like I said, Mike answered my technical questions.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I would agree with Councilmember Pride's comments. I mean, I read the duty statement as one of those that have written a lot of duty statements. It can be tedious. It's you know, you've got to go through it a few times because it's easy to miss little, you know, minor little issues here and there. And they are a living document anyway. They can be amended at any time, and these will most likely be amended down the road. Not specifically the police chief, but when the police chief is hired, I thoroughly expect to see amendments on some of the other duty statements within the operational structure anyway. But with that said, yeah, these are minor changes. I agree with Lori's under the education and desirable, you know, the patent language, desirable, you know, bachelor's degree is desirable or experience and training equivalent and that sort of thing. You know, I think that's a very minor fix. I agree with that, and with keeping the rest of the language in place. Reference to the driver's license, sure. Obviously, law enforcement officer has to have a valid driver's license. That's fine. Amending the rest of that language, but they also have to maintain a driver's license. But that necessarily does not have to be in the duty statement. But although it wouldn't hurt, the maintenance of a valid driver's license. And I agree with striking under the first bullet under the knowledge, ability, skills, the cultural arts, leisure, and so on and so forth. Those are minor amendments. I would agree with all those amendments. But looking at, I know there were some amendments on these duty statements, which is why we're going to be reviewing them at a later time. As presented, the current police chief duty statement looks, with the exception of a couple of minor changes, and also that one, Marty, on page 1, that one misspelled word.
Implementation.
Implementation. Yeah, I've never heard of this.
Got that.
Implantation. I don't know what that means, but anyway. But other than that, I think it's a good document. I think it looks good. So thank you. Good job, Mike and Michael.
Good job.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you,
he's-
Mike.
he's Mike.
Thank you very much for your work on that. So that's all I had. I would agree with Councilmember Pride's minor amendments.
I would also just say the other part of this action item or for discussion is the salary range. And I have to say, when I looked at the proposed salary range for the police chief, to me, it seemed a little bit low. We didn't have the study. We got that after asking a couple questions. I don't know, Mike, can you maybe address the salary range for the police chief, just for the benefit of the folks here? We're looking at a step one at 111, 638 with a top step of 136,020.
Yeah. So it's always hard to set a salary for a position like this, especially when you look at chief executive positions in the region, and in particular in this very county where the sheriff, a chief executive, is making almost $200,000 in salary. That's before his benefit package. And so that presents a challenge for us in setting what the rate's going to be. And then the other thing is the size of the department and comparison to similar agencies. So as I kind of honed in on this figure, it was based on two things. One is the consultant a year and a half ago that did the study for the city of Willows, he looked at 2, 4, 6, he looked at 8 different communities, and And then he did some whiz bang math and came up with a recommendation that actually would have put the annual cost for a chief going with his recommendation 2 years ago at about 150,000. Your candidates are going to love the heck out of that. However, I think that we have a collective obligation to be reasonable based on the community and based on what's average. So I took a closer look at Wairika PD, Colusa PD, Orland and Corning PDs. I kind of averaged out the salaries of their chief positions and then looked at what I proposed Willows to be in the higher, just above average of those positions. It puts us right in the top half of that pack and keeps us competitive and comparable with departments of similar size.
I guess I was surprised to see that Orland's at their top, Orland was at 126, 174 as a top step. I was surprised that was as low as it was.
Actually, Orland just this week, just within the last week before I submitted this, the police chief and the fire chief just got raises in Orland. So I think he's about $5,000 higher a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe 6.
Thank you.
Since I have you at the dais, can I ask you another question?
Sure.
The education, the possession of a bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university, why did you initially put that in there? What are your thoughts on keeping that in there or taking that out?
I am always an advocate for education, and I'm very aware of the first argument against an education with respect to Councilmember Pride. I heard it when I talked to her earlier. I don't have a degree and I can do the job really well. I don't deny that. But what my position has been, and my experience has been, that a degree does things for people beyond experience. It teaches strategic planning. It teaches, what was the term I used to you?
Critical thinking.
Oh, critical thinking. It teaches critical thinking. It teaches critical communication. It teaches strategic thinking and strategic planning. And those are things that, unless you've really had some formal educational background in that, those don't always come naturally with significant experience that people gain. The other thing I think is that, over the last 100 and how many years with the evolution of policing has struggled to portray itself as a professionalism. And part of the way that we portray ourselves as professionals in policing is by establishing foundational requirements that are more similar with professional environments, and education, formalized education is typically a part of that. I'm always going to advocate for a higher level of education. I don't think a master's degree is reasonable, but if this was a much larger department, like Bay Area agencies that we see, I'd be advocating for a mandated master's degree as well. And you'd see candidates coming out. The question that Lori asked is, are we going to cut off our nose by missing certain candidates? Yeah, we might. But I'm going to suggest that some of those candidates, unless they're super duper outstanding, are going to be people that we just don't want if they're not up to that high level. They can be good, solid police officers, good, solid senior patrol sergeant on weekend graveyard, maybe in a little bit bigger department, good, solid lieutenant watch commander. But without an education, at some point, my experience is and my observation is at some point they hit a ceiling.
Perfect.
And so for that reason, I always advocate for the degree.
One more quick question for you is, as a person goes through the law enforcement academy, do they not receive an AA degree as part of that?
They do not.
I don't
and
remember.
It's really up to each individual community college. Butte College has a program where, and they're unique in this regard. It was started by the then dean of students, who is a former chief of police at several California agencies, and he started a program in the criminal justice department where with just the police academy and a few general ed classes, you can get an associate degree. And the associate degree is called Police Academy. That's what it's called.
So
But
essentially,
that's unique to,
to our area. I
Yeah.
understand that. But there's colleges out there offering an AA degree or what would be hiring as our lowest sworn officer position, which is halfway to getting your bachelor's. So requesting a bachelor's for a police chief is not out of the question, out of the realm is what.
oh, not only is it not out of the realm, but there are agencies in California now that they require a minimum of, there's a few that require a minimum of 15 units 1 year, but there's a lot of agencies out there that require a minimum of 2 years of college. State Parks and Recreation, the peace officer component of State Parks and Recreation, where you're a sworn ranger, they have to have 2 years of college. Fish and Game, you have to have 2 years of college.
Okay.
A lot of Bay Area agencies, you have to have 2 years of college just to come into an entry level position.
Perfect. Thank you.
Can I do
Yeah.
a staff follow-up question? So with our HR process, and this is what Mike and I talked about this a little bit. So we go out and we recruit for a police chief and we have an applicant pool. Say there is that candidate out there that is outstanding in all ways, always, we'll just use that for sake of argument, but they don't have that degree. Do we have the opportunity in our HR policy, personnel rules to be able to waive that? Or are we just locked in? If we say this is a requirement, is it a hard and fast requirement and we don't have any room to do anything but change the job description and re-advertise?
Typically, you change the job description. Yeah, we actually had a situation like that already for a position that was a department head and had a minimum requirement of associate's degree. One of the candidates did not have that, and they struck from the list.
So if someone applied and they don't meet the minimum requirements, they wouldn't even make it to an interview. They would just be out. They shouldn't make it. If they don't meet minimum requirements, they should go no further. So ideally, someone looking at our recruitment notice would see they have to have this bachelor's, and if they don't have it, they wouldn't even apply.
Typically, that is what happens.
Okay.
correct?
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Mike just said. Yeah, when I didn't make myself very clear when I said I agreed with the verbiage change in the possession of a bachelor's degree. I mean, yeah, that is basically the industry standard, a bachelor's degree for an executive level position in the state of California. But my comment, I'm all about education and training. Understand? I have a college degree. Okay. Anyway, I was just, when I said that, I didn't mean strike all education. I just want to make that clear. To strike all education. The training and education equivalent is basically to a bachelor's degree at a bare minimum. In my mind would mean at a minimum an AA degree, a minimum, and training and education above that. So I wouldn't have a problem with language like that. I've seen that. One of our other samples with the police chief duty statement had that similar language. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm making myself clear about what I'm saying. I don't have a problem with
You're saying equivalent to a bachelor's degree.
training and education equivalent to a bachelor's degree with a base minimum of an AA. A base minimum of an AA, but other training and equivalent is however a bachelor's degree is desirable. That's what I'm saying. If that makes sense, I'm not going to hang my hat on that. Right. I mean, if my colleagues want to go with a bachelor's degree, that's fine. Right. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's good. But I just, we're going to be talking about that here in a few minutes, hopefully, about hiring a police chief. But this is going to be a very unique position, extremely unique. We need the right person. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. And you're right, Mike. State agencies. I ultimately retired from a state agency and led that state agency, and the entry level was a bachelor's degree for entry level for many state agencies now. At least an AA degree. So you are correct. So like I say, I'm not gonna throw my toys and have a tantrum if the language minimum bachelor's degree stays. I just don't want to miss the right candidate if they have an AA degree and a lot of training experience, but maybe not a bachelor's.
if I can add one thing that may help bring just a little bit of clarification, the other requirements, if you scroll down on that page,
Mhm.
for post certification, I'm recommending that they have their post basic, intermediate,
Mhm.
advanced, supervisory, and management
Right.
certificates. All of those certificates represent years of experience and training with
Yeah.
post calls training points.
Right.
So in order to reach that level of qualification, you are already demonstrating a very high level of training.
If you have a management certificate,
And-
yes, like we
and-
do. Yes, that's
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you and I have executive certificates.
Right.
And right. Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I meant by thank
Yeah.
you for bringing that up. That's what I meant by equivalent to. I just want to make that clear.
Right.
So I agree with everything you're saying. So we may be going down the weeds a little bit too much here, but anyway, there you go. Thank you, Mike.
Awesome.
That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Thomas, any questions?
No.
Okay. Councilmember Lowe, any questions?
Real quick, Mr. Maloney, thank you for the job classification. It was very thorough. One question on what is the average years of experience on a police chief making a lateral move into a city like Willows?
You know, a position like for a community this size is we're probably looking at a 15 plus year veteran. I'm going to say to meet the minimum qualifications, you're going to take 6 years to get your advanced certificate if you have an education behind you. And then if you get promoted to a supervisory position, that's another 2 years to get that certificate. And then you get promoted to a management position. And we didn't distinguish intentionally in here what kind of management position. Some places call them lieutenants, some places call them commanders, some places call them captains or deputy chiefs. It doesn't matter what you call it. If you have 2 years experience doing that job, you're qualified for the management certificate. So to get all of that is probably going to take you about 15 years.
Okay.
Now, in the context of your former conversation regarding PERS and PEPRA, that's going to be a mid-career person.
Yes. And that's what matters. When you look at this, when I looked at the salary schedule, I thought that it was a little low initially compared to the study that was provided, I think January 25. But you kind of put that into perspective because the hire in this situation is probably going to be a classic coming down under the classic pension.
And that's the other thing we're starting to see now. We're starting to see PEPRA retirees coming of age, believe it or not, or people who were in the classic plan. They separated for a period of time and then they reinstated under PEPRA. And once they reinstate under PEPRA, they're tied to the PEPRA rules.
I think, Mayor, I think you'll see in when we look in 7A at the total compensation package for the chief, you'll see that this base salary lies in the upper range of this figure. So it's something we'll have to consider.
Oh, I'm sorry if I may say one last thing. In speaking with the city manager, we just tried to identify. We didn't really set the low range. We tried to identify what a really solid recommended top range would be, and then the scale backwards was kind of established, consistent with how all other positions in the city are. And as the appointing authority, it's my understanding that the city manager has the authority to set where they feel is appropriate based on the position. Really just up to that max though. So it may not necessarily mean that somebody starts at 111,000 as the chief. If that was the case, you're not going to be finding anybody that otherwise meets the requirements of the job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go to any public comment.
Michelle Knight.
Well, I would recommend, first of all, that you would go with what Mr. Hansen had stated, and that would be a minimum of an associate's degree with a combination of education and experience. I think otherwise you will be short-sighted in who might apply. Of course, you could go with someone who has a bachelor's degree, but experience individuals can bring a lot to the table as far as a police chief. And there's ways to write that were already mentioned earlier. Anyhow, what I wrote earlier while we are addressing the police chief's position, but I had kind of combined it. So for the 3 positions, so just bear with me on how I wrote it because it's just written for the 3. While the salaries associated with the proposed job classifications appear to be generally consistent with those offered in comparable cities, I remain concerned about whether the city will be sufficiently competitive in attracting and retaining qualified law enforcement personnel. This is particularly important when recruiting well-trained lateral officers whose experience and institutional knowledge are especially valuable to a newly established department. I do not see information addressing the benefits or other incentives offered. When one considers neighboring cities and county law enforcement agencies, these may include post-certification pay differentials, longevity pay for experienced officers, and recognition of prior governmental service for purposes of vacation accrual and other benefits. I don't know if all of you understand what I'm saying there, but I know, for instance, that Glenn County officers receive their management. So like the chief would come in and years of service for other areas. They upper management would receive the years of service going toward their vacation accruals. So if you're recruiting for a chief of police, they're going to want to know, are they going to get those years of service put toward the number of vacation hours and accruals? So none of that was addressed in this package. So here you're going to send this information further in item number 7 that we're going to talk about soon. And I know we're not talking about that now, but you have a job classification that you're establishing, and none of these benefits are being discussed in this job flyer. These components are an important part of an employee's overall compensation package and can significantly influence a candidate's decision when evaluating competing employment opportunities. I believe these issues should be discussed today to ensure that the city is positioned to offer a truly competitive hiring package and to attract the most qualified candidates possible for the new department. Now, I realize that you guys postponed the other 4, but you may wish to bring those back up quickly just to talk and give direction that when they do come back up to you so that you don't waste your time, that this information is also discussed at that time for those other classifications as well, because they need to be discussed openly. Just like this police chief one needs to be discussed openly tonight so that those compensation package can be discussed and go before the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Okay, with that,
Oh, there's somebody in the audience.
yeah, go ahead. Come on up and please state your name for the record.
Rick Beatty, Will's resident. I have a bunch of notes at home I forgot, so bear with me a little bit. But I would recommend, I listened to Mr. Maloney's comments about the education. You're looking at a person that's running a complete department, not line staff. I would recommend that you stick with the bachelor's degree. You will just raise the bar and get a better candidate that, for all the reasons that he stated, that's going to be dealing with your partners throughout the county and whatnot. They can be the best, most advanced police officer that we have in this community, but they might not have the education that kind of has, like I do. I don't speak very well in public, so I think it kind of brings up that bar a little bit. So I would recommend the bachelor's degree. And if not, the very least, like I look at every other department head in this county, city, anywhere from welfare department, to the HR department, to the personnel department, to whatever department, they all have bachelor's degrees. So why not have our police department to that same standard? Also, if you look at the school system, I've seen some language where if they are, I guess, promoted to a principal or vice principal, they have a year or 2 to get their administrative degrees. So maybe that's some type of language. I agree with Mr. Hanson that an A degree with intermediate, advanced, supervisor, management, I mean, you're going to get college credits every time you go to class. You probably have over 2,000 hours of training in your career at least. And you're getting college credit every time you go to some of those classes. So, I mean, sometimes it's just filling out a piece of paper for an officer and they can have an AA degree just by all the trainings that they go to. The driver's license, I think it's a great idea to actually have and maintain a driver's license. We have a hard time, I think, running people's driver's licenses after they're hired and they get suspended a year, 2 years, 5 years, and you have officers on suspended licenses driving around in police cars. So I think it's important that you do checks more than just when you hire them, but like every so often that they maintain a driver's license. It happens all the time. When I read in the job flyer, and I don't know too much about the government code, I did a deep dive really quick, but it says that the government code, doesn't matter, 5-digit number, is that the police chief is going to answer to the city manager. City manager deals with the hiring, recruiting, the firing, the discipline, due process, and everything else. I also read another government code that the police chief answers to the city as a board. And so I've seen both where the city manager has all that power, but I also seen it also where the city manager writes recommendations, but it's you folks that make that decision. So I don't know government code wise where you stand, but the flyer says that it answers to the city manager. So that's just a question I don't have an answer for, but I'm throwing that out there. And the salary wise, really quick, Orland Police Department, 126,000, saw the same thing. Raise in the last couple of weeks, that's great. But a brand new police chief in Willows probably shouldn't make more than Orland Police Chief. He has 10, 15 years of experience. He's doing a great job. Unless you want to steal him, that'd be great. And he'll come down here and make more money. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you. Okay, with that, council comments. Vice Mayor Thomas?
None.
Okay. Councilmember Pride?
No additional.
Okay. Councilmember Lowe?
No comments.
Councilmember Hanson?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to requiring a bachelor's degree either. I think it was a good discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, I do have a couple. One, I do agree that a valid driver's license should be required to drive a police car. I feel like that should just be, can't believe that even has to be something that's stated. So obviously there are some other things that are missing if that, you have to go back that basic for it to be stated.
It's in there.
Yeah, I do like the idea of requiring the bachelor's degree. My only caveat to that would be is if that person is in the process of receiving their bachelor's degree, possibly allow them a 2-year grace period to finish that education. Granted, if they're getting hired on here, that's going to be a pretty tall order to rebuild the police department and go to school. So I think requiring it right off the bat is, I think this is the best route to go at first. As far as the supervision and direction from the city manager, I didn't think about what you had said, so I'm still mulling over the idea of whether that would be direction from the city manager or city council.
I do have a comment about that.
Go ahead.
If the council wanted to move towards a police chief reporting directly to a council, you're now moving towards a city administrator form of government where you hire as a council all department. I am not familiar with a structure where you have city manager, council form of government, and your police chief is off on the side reporting to the council, which is all the other. So I think council would be having a larger discussion about whether you want to move, which is what Oroville is, for example, is a city administrator versus a city manager, where council hires and appoints department heads. Very different structure. I wouldn't recommend it, but you know, if that's a broader conversation the council wants to have, certainly.
It's a different conversation to have.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
I just was just saying that I never thought about that, so that was just definitely mulling that over. Yeah, with that, obviously, like Lori said, there are a couple little minor details that need to be ironed out. But Mr. Hanson, if you have more.
Yeah,
comments, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I completely agree with what City Manager Marty Brown just said. And city manager, city council form of government, every municipality in the state of California that I'm aware of, the city manager is in charge of all department heads. And charter cities are different. We read about it all the time. Charter cities, the mayor and the council hire and fire the police chief. I mean, look at Oakland. Happens all the time. But anyway, no, the council city or the city manager, city council, city manager, I'm sorry, form of government, the police chief would report to the city manager, just like the fire chief does, just like the community development services director does, and every other department head. I think you're opening a very dangerous can of worms if you start to go down that aisle. They're just my thoughts, Evan. Thank you.
Okay. I appreciate that. My other concern is I am also concerned about the salary schedule, which I'm trying to find. Now I got jumbled up because there's 100 and some odd pages up here. My concern is we're hiring somebody to come in and completely rebuild our police department. And right now our salary schedule is putting them competitive with surrounding jurisdictions, not too far off, where they don't have to do the extra legwork. They're not building from the ground up. So my suggestion to the council is either move the salary schedule to start the base at a higher level and have step 9B be able to extend higher. What that does is that allows us to hire a police chief and keep him in that contract for a longer period of time before we have to come back to the negotiation table. Because as it was stated, we might get somebody with a master's degree and, is bilingual and hits all these different check boxes that we may need in our community. And the only way we're going to get that person is going straight to step 9 off year 1. Well, then we're back here again in another year, redoing this while he's still in the middle of trying to build a police department. So my thought is to either have that. My main thought is to have the steps adjusted to increase the step. Where step 3 or 4 would be step 1.
One thing I do want to just remind the council of that you did approve last year is that when a department head reaches the top step, that they get a CPI increase each year after that. That's between 2.5% and 3%, which that'll be actually coming to the council as an executive mid-management handbook, I believe at the September 8th meeting, and it's going to be codified because that actually was direction in closed session. And I want to make sure that it is codified somewhere and we haven't done that yet. So I just wanted to remind you that council did approve that. And so it's not like if somebody was hired at the top step, they just stay there forever or something like that until council approves a new salary. So
I retract my previous statement. With that, pleasure of the council.
Now we have to find the agenda that has the item on it.
Also, did you make a final decision on the bachelor's degree? I'm a little bit confused on that. I think we got clear direction on the other smaller changes, but
I think
I'll make a motion.
Motion
Yeah.
to be made.
Incorporated into a motion. I would move that we approve the police officer job classification and salary schedule, retaining the requirement for the bachelor's degree, at least at this point in time.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion to approve the chief of police duty statement and salary schedule as presented.
I would like to offer the amendment of adjusting the first bullet point, removing the cultural arts, leisure time,
Sorry,
and
thank you.
recreation administration.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, with a couple changes, with the changes as discussed, which would be that and the driver's license, we're going to keep in the maintaining the license, but having one and maintaining it. But there was some other language in that bullet point that could come out. I would accept that friendly amendment.
I agree with that. That includes striking that cultural arts language.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I second. I second
I would love our police chief to teach a cooking class, but he's got bigger fish to fry at this point. I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0.
Mr. Mayor, would it be possible to take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute recess so I can reset my paperwork and
Thank you.
people can stretch their legs. All right. Let's see, we will call this meeting back to, are you ready? Sorry. Okay, we will call this meeting back to order at 7:25. With that, we will moving on to discussion and action calendar items, which first item is 7A, Police Chief Recruitment and Appointment. Recommended action, authorize the city manager to engage a recruitment firm in an amount not to exceed $30,000 to conduct recruitment for a City of Willows police chief and authorize budget authority to appoint and hire the police chief at an annual local total compensation amount not to exceed $215,000. Marty Brown, you have anything to add to this?
Just that I wanted to let the council know that the assumptions in the total compensation are that the police chief would be hired at the top step, which you just approved a minute ago, that the chief would probably be a classic employee, helper's employee, which of course also is more money. Health insurance and social security are included in that total compensation. And we usually assume at least one dependent when we, roll up these costs into a total compensation. So there's not, trying to limit any surprises, right? That's why I'm asking for that amount of money. Maybe the person doesn't get hired at the top step. Maybe they're only themselves that they have to insure. Maybe it'll be lower. That would be great. But we're, shooting for a higher number to get a not to exceed amount that I don't have to come back to the council and have another discussion about, oh, things have changed. So those are the assumptions that are built into that number. And I do want to mention that the total compensation number that came from the finance director was a little over 211,000. And so I did round up to 215. Just wanted to acknowledge that. And the last thing I wanted to mention is the council did give me direction at the August 11th special meeting to move forward with looking at a recruitment firm. I have only had conversations at this point to come up with that dollar amount. I have not gotten formal proposals. It's just a little too fast from that meeting to this meeting. So the 30,000 is based on just having initial conversations with recruitment firms that seem to be hovering around 30,000. The boutique firm that specializes in police chief recruitments that I was thinking of actually gave me a dollar amount of 42,500. And so I went with thinking that it would be more like the 30,000 based on two other recruitment conversations that I had and trying to bring that number down. So that pretty much concludes my presentation. So the total budget impact, of course, with both combined is the 245,000. It's in the fiscal impact for the entire year, but of course the 30,000 is a one-time expense. It's not an ongoing expense.
Okay. With that, any questions from the council? Vice Mayor Thomas?
Not at this time.
Okay. Councilmember Bride?
At least for now, just thinking about one of the public comments, are there any other, at this management level, any other stipends or anything for bilingual or anything else that we offer to some of our other employment groups for this?
We do have a bilingual stipend of $250 a month. The city also has longevity pay. And I believe that the longevity pay is $100 a month at 10 years. And I think it's 200 at 20. I'd have to get that number, be sure, and get back to you if you want me to get those numbers. Those are two off the top of my head that would be, that would possibly impact the hire of a police chief. I mean, other things that we have are, for certifications in the fire department or a boot stipend or some of those things that wouldn't happen. But I mean, I want the council to keep in mind that there's a number of other kinds of compensation, like you're talking about, and benefits that were brought up earlier that wouldn't typically be in a job classification and salary schedule for approval, nor would they be in this staff report. That would come back because there will have to be additional amendments because there's certifications that police departments and police officers are required that aren't required, for example, in the fire department. So there's going to have to be a whole review and consideration of more compensation package for police department employees that are not covered here tonight.
They'll have their own MOUs and things like that they'll have
Correct.
to establish still.
And I would say, actually, Councilmember Hanson reminded me that at one point in the past, police and fire were in a single bargaining unit, And maybe they'll do that again. I think I told you that today, Councilmember Pride as well. My experience is usually police is separate. I haven't ever seen a police and fire department that wanted to be together in their own bargaining unit, but maybe they'll get here. It'll be their decision either way. It won't be a management decision, and maybe they'll want to do that and be in a single bargaining unit. I don't know.
I just thought it was important we address that because of the other questions, sick leave, vacation time, all those things are just part of our basic program that isn't just zeroed in here. So I just wanted to address that.
Also, I would just mention that sometimes, that there is the ability for the city manager to negotiate with an incoming department head on certain things. Like, for example, I've seen in other places where department head's been somewhere for 20 years and they have a bajillion hours of sick leave. And so they don't want to lose that because maybe they're not too far from retirement and you could use your sick leave to purchase more CalPERS hours and years in retirement. And they might negotiate, asking for all of it or 50% of it be, ported over from their past job. And those kinds of special benefits would be negotiated during the actual hiring process because that's a different thing than the codified benefits package. So that could also be another aspect of the hiring.
Okay. Any more questions?
Well, that's it.
Okay. Councilmember Lowe. I'm
No
sorry, I'm
questions.
still learning, figuring out, getting used to new person over there. So no comments, no questions?
I mean, comments and that I think the amount, the compensation amount is fair. And one of the things I learned is that Willows is one of few cities that also pays Social Security to their employees. Not all cities pay that in their pension plan. So that's added on top of that. I think it's very fair.
Councilmember Hanson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in favor of this matter as presented. We must engage with a recruitment firm. This is a very unique chief's position. We need to recruit a dynamic, innovative, hardworking law enforcement professional that'll fit our needs here. So it may not necessarily be easy to find that individual. So I'm in complete favor of utilizing a recruitment firm to find that individual. And also, I'm satisfied with the maximum $245,000 to the budget with all included. I'm in favor of this item as presented. I think it's something that we must do. We have to do this. That's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Marty, you said that the niche firm that you were looking at quoted us higher than the 30,000 that we're trying to approve tonight.
Yes, I was actually surprised. I didn't realize how this is all they do is police chief recruitments all over the country. So they're basically said that would be this size city.
Which makes me think of
You have a question? Yeah, go ahead. That was my only question.
Well, it's kind of a comment and a question. There's always, we're going to use potentially a professional recruiting firm, but we also all know people who know people who know people. So I don't think that precludes doing in-house recruitment as well. I just think I need to make that clear. I don't think, we're talking about hiring someone and then not doing anything else. I think in conversations with Mr. Maloney, he feels very confident that there are people out there that will be interested in this position because I asked that question. And so I think we're going to have the local, the people that we know that, just through whatever. And then this recruiter, which again, I struggle sometimes spending that kind of money on a recruiter. But then I'm told by the people who know more than I do that that's how you find the best people. So I'm a little bit skeptical, honestly. But I just wanted to preface that we're not just putting all our eggs in that basket and not utilizing, Mr. Maloney's contacts or just the people that I'm sure anybody in this room knows people that might potentially be interested.
Okay. Vice Mayor Thomas, do you have any questions?
No, I think it's something we need to do.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
I would support this item.
Any public comment?
Michelle Knight.
First, I'd like to express my full support for beginning the recruitment process for a police chief and for ultimately appointing a qualified candidate. However, I believe it is important that the city publicly establish in advance the compensation, benefits, and other terms of employment that will be offered as part of this position. Doing so will help ensure that the recruitment process is both effective and competitive, and that the city is positioned to attract the strongest candidates possible. I believe this is particularly important given the city's previous experience and recruitment of a police chief. The last time the city undertook such a process, the outcome was, in my opinion, a significant failure. It is my hope the city will learn from that experience and take the necessary steps to avoid repeating the same problems. This will also require securing a contract with either the local background investigator currently used by the Orland Police Department and Sheriff's Office or another post-qualified provider. With that said, I have a concern regarding information contained in the document provided by the city manager, Ms. Marty Brown. The document states at its August 11th meeting, the city council directed staff to engage a professional recruitment firm to assist with the recruitment and appointment of a police chief. However, when I reviewed the agenda and minutes for the referenced special meeting, the stated purpose of the meeting was conference with legal counsel, initiation of litigation, 54956.9 paren D paren 4 paren 1 case. The meeting minutes further indicated report out, information was received and direction was given to staff. I was unable to identify in the publicly available agenda or minutes any specific reference to the city council providing direction regarding the recruitment or appointment of a police chief. Furthermore, based upon the stated purpose of the special meeting, I do not understand how such direction would be connected to the closed session matter identified on the agenda. I believe this raises legitimate transparency concern that should be clarified for the council and the public. I, along with others in the community, are concerned about the possibility that matters concerning the recruitment and appointment of the police chief or other significant city business may be discussed or acted upon during closed sessions when those matters should be instead be addressed in an open public forum. I am not suggesting that the city council improperly discussed or acted upon this matter. Rather, I believe that the discrepancy between the stated purpose of the August 11th special meeting and the subsequent reference to direction regarding the police chief recruitment warrants clarification. Given the importance of reestablishing the Willows Police Department and selecting its chief, I believe the public should have a clear understanding of when and how the decision to initiate the recruitment process was made. Transparency in this process will help ensure public confidence and provide the community with assurance, and the recruitment and appointment of the next police chief are conducted appropriately, openly, and in accordance with the applicable requirements. Thank you.
Thank you.
On that note, I just talked with Vice Mayor Thomas about that as we came back from our break. I was going to ask at City Attorney, and since it's been brought up by Michelle, our August 11th meeting was a special meeting and it was a closed session for litigation, and the minutes did reflect that direction was given to staff. You know, my question, and I didn't ask it before tonight and debated bringing it up, just trying to get more information from staff. When we're in a closed session, this is just a technical question, and we give direction to staff. Is it appropriate in many circumstances, depending on what that direction is, i.e. go forward with the recruitment of a police chief would have been the direction, to put that in some form of minutes?
It's not required under the Brown Act. There are no minutes required to be kept. And it would really depend on what type of direction was given and whether that's going to open up doors about other things that might have been discussed as part. For example, this was a discussion on potential initiation of litigation. Well, that's completely confident what that discussion entailed, and I would not advise reaching out.
But then we bring forward a staff report to bring forward an item, and we reference a closed session special meeting that had no report out, and that by bringing it out and alluding, obviously we gave direction on this item. It just creates again this.
Well, I think that's
questioning.
kind of an interesting dilemma, because I feel like if I just put it on here and there's no other minutes anywhere else that says I was given direction, I think that there'd be concern about, well, why did you just suddenly, as the city manager, think you should go get a recruiter, right? So I felt an obligation to say that I was given direction. You didn't take a vote on it, which would then absolutely require a report out, but you did say, and I think, I mean, as the city attorney said, that's okay.
Well, again, it is a dilemma because I don't disagree with what you've said. However, we're having meetings, we're discussing things, and then they're going to appear at some point on the agenda. So how do we mitigate that? I don't have the answer to that question, but I noticed what you noticed. And if we're going to refer to those meetings and direction given in those meetings, how do we then document that so that it doesn't raise quite more questions on transparency with our constituents? So it's
I,
something to ponder.
I definitely understand where both of you are coming from. I feel like this is at that time on the report out, the information we talked about was confidential. We did not want to discuss it at that time. Now we're at a later date where we're able to discuss that and we're referring to where that direction was given, which is not necessarily, I do understand the transparency issue. I also understand the legal issue of side of it as well. Yeah, that's a difficult one. It is definitely the dog chasing the tail sometimes.
And ideally, we're going to get to the point at some point that we're able to build that trust with the community. And there's some things that, we get into this dilemma that, because of circumstances, we need to talk about it in this certain venue. And then at some point, something comes out and that there's a trust that there aren't other inappropriate, side conversations or closed sessions happening or whatever. So it's about trust.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember
If I
Hanson?
may, yeah, thank you. No, I think it's important to remember what the city attorney just advised. This council does not violate the Brown Act. This council follows the Ralph Brown Act. So what was done lawfully on the report out. I just want to make that clear to the public perspective. It's you're walking kind of a tightrope on not disclosing litigation issues because that's absolutely confidential, as our city attorney just attested to. So the report outs, basically, direction given to staff, no other reportable action. That was the lawful report out. So I just want to make it clear that this council's not trying to pull the blinders, and I'm not saying anybody's accusing us of that, but I just want to make it very clear that this city council follows the Ralph Brown Act.
Yeah.
So that's all I had, Evan. Thank you.
Oh, and I agree with that. I definitely don't think that we've ever been in violation of it. I think, but I do understand how I don't want to use it as a shield to make people think that we're not being transparent when we're doing our best. And I do actually applaud putting that down there at the end. So then people can ask the question can be brought up. Why is this being mentioned on here when it was discussed during a closed session item? And that's a valid question. And I feel like we've given a valid answer, even though sometimes it's never the answer that we want. Still the answer that's there. So with that, is there any more public comment?
Mr. Mayor, I just was absent from that August 11th meeting, so I have no knowledge of what actually went down.
Mm-hmm.
I was briefed on general discussions of it. But if the council gave direction to the city manager to pursue professional recruitment, that requires expenditure of money. And so by bringing it here today, she's following that direction and exposing to the public what our direction was. And so I don't know how else you could do that.
Right. That's where I'm
Directed
coming
it.
from.
So she's now presenting it
Mhm.
from that direction so we could vote on it.
And at that time, we didn't want to, it was still in the confidential setting, so we didn't want to disclose too much information based on where we're at with the legal conversations. Yeah, is there any more public comment? Is that it?
I don't have any.
Okay, with that, Vice Mayor Thomas, you have anything?
No.
Councilmember Pride? Councilmember Lowe?
I think one more comment on the recruitment piece is that the startup expertise and long-term management from a police chief's perspective are two different skill sets. And the best solution I would recommend is that you would hire a permanent chief with startup experience if possible, supported by a retired chief or a consultant for maybe a 6-month period or so to kind of guide this chief along. That's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Hanson?
I have no further comments. If you're ready, Mr. Mayor, you may have some comments. I'm prepared to submit a motion.
Okay, I do have a couple real quick. My only comment is that we've received not a firm quote, but a ballpark estimate, right? I call
Yeah,
it
it's just been verbal
I
discussion.
call it a
That's-
guesstimation, right?
Right.
That's above what we're requesting here. So my thought is wondering if we need to allocate a higher amount. So
So
that we're not postponing this any longer when we go out to bid for this. And next thing you know, nobody came in under 30,000 and now we're sitting here and we're having to have another meeting, and trying to get, 3 out of 5 people together for a special meeting or whatever to increase that number. So my thought is to increase that limit to where we know we can at least get one competitive bid. And go from there. And whether or not we spend that much is a completely different subject, right? I mean, we can say, hey, we want to spend 45,000, get 5 bids, one comes in at 20,000. We'll take the 20,000. We're not spending that money necessarily, but we're at least given the authority to do what it takes to get us a police chief, because that's vital for our community. Because as soon as we're able to start hiring that police chief, we're able to start getting the contract law enforcement, hopefully, according to Mr. Maloney's input. And then that involves a safer town. And I don't think you can put a dollar amount on that. And so if we're able to get a recruitment firm that's able to get the job done, fast and well done, then it's worth the price that has to be paid for it. So those are my only comments.
I'd like to ask or have Marty explain, this matter authorizes you to appoint and hire a police chief. You cover briefly the concept of the interview process that you shared with me. It would be you and whom else?
Typically for a department head position at this level, in this case in Willows, I would recommend that it be myself, Mike Maloney, and I would also look to ask for probably current, currently active police chiefs from a few jurisdictions, maybe to be part of it, as well as some staff, executive department head staff. And if the council was so inclined in this particular case, because it is a police chief, you may wish to have a community panel, which is often done for city manager recruitments, not as common for department heads, but somewhat common for police chiefs.
Thank you.
So I haven't gotten that far. I mean, we're going 100 miles an hour right now. So
I understand that, but I think it was important that they know
that.
that the public knows that our decision process is broad-based, involving law enforcement officials with the knowledge to write and ask the right questions. So I thought that was important to share.
And in this case, I would think council might be well, because I know that there's a lot of really high, strong community interest in this position.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Are you concerned that the $30,000 not to exceed amount for the recruitment services might not be enough?
Just based off of what I call a guesstimation that she
Yeah.
received from the firm.
Would you be, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So that's why I was suggesting possibly going up to something along the lines of 45,000, maybe even 50, and not spending. But either way, we're still taking the best bid that we have.
Yeah, I just said that was my question, because right now the recommendation is not to exceed 30,000 for the recruitment as we see in front of us, with a total maximum fiscal impact to the budget, to the general fund budget at 245,000. So,
Well, I did the math I did some math, and I took all the positions that we were supposed to vote on tonight and postponed, multiplied them each times the same percent to come up with a benefits package that they would have been received. For the chief, it came out to be about 58% of his base salary at the top step. If we hired based off of our old study that we did where we had 10 law enforcement or 10 staff, which was one assistant, two CSOs. It was six sworn police officers, two sergeants, and one chief, for a total of 10. With benefits and everything else, that puts us at $901,827. Again, that's rough math. We're still having to look into animal control and dispatch. I ballparked that around 250,000. I'm not sure where we're at. That still puts us at close to 1.2, $1.3 million for our staffing and dispatch. We still obviously have vehicles and other tangible items that we have to get. But it still puts us well within our budget line that we're trying to keep within of the 2.3 that we're basing everything off of what we're used to paying for law enforcement contract services. So I think when we're talking about $1.2 million, providing an extra 15,000 and make sure that we get a good firm that's going to do the job well, isn't asking too much.
I'm just going to disagree. I think staff's presented this item with a fiscal impact of 245,000 as expressed by Councilmember Hanson, 215, which is padded by $5,000 already per the city manager's report. 30,000 is she's talked to companies. There's one company, and what was their number, Marty?
32,500, which is a boutique firm that specializes in chiefs.
I would be very interested in actually seeing what these other firms can do. I hear boutique firm and they're like the only ones. They're charging for that. And are they truly the only ones? Since we're approving this dollar amount tonight, Mayor, and if that goes over higher, if we limit her authority to 30, I'm opposed to spending just whatever we need to spend for a recruitment firm. When I believe, based on what Mr. Maloney has said and what I just kind of know intuitively, there's a very strong chance we're not going to get somebody through the recruitment firm. We're going to get somebody who's already in contact with Mike. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but to just keep upping these costs for these outside consultants and recruiters, I'm resistant to that. Well,
Yep.
It's not my place
Yep.
to telling you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I thank you for the information. I understand. Yeah, that was my question. I was just, wanted to know where your thinking was, but I'm comfortable with approving this matter as presented for now, because any individual who meets the MQs and minimum qualifications can apply. It's not necessarily just going to be applicants identified through recruiters. So words out, the job flyer's out. It's out all over the place. All right. Probably all over the Western United States, all over the state of California for sure. So I'm comfortable moving forward with the staff recommendation as presented at not to exceed $30,000 for the recruitment services. So that's all I had.
Sorry, public comment is over. I mean, if you have information for us, I'm willing to take it all in. This is new for all of us. So go ahead.
Just going to share that free to you, you could get a hold of PORAC, which all the law enforcement officers belong to in the state of California. And you could put your job flyer in that bulletin for free, just to let you know, because that's a really good resource to recruit.
Again, I'm just one person with limited knowledge on law enforcement and how that recruitment process goes. So I'm looking at something and I'm seeing us needing that immediately, not, hey, we got to come back in 2 weeks and readjust the number again. So with that, I'll leave it up to the pleasure of the council.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve item 7A, police chief recruitment and appointment matter as presented by staff.
I second that. So we have a first and a second. Is there any further comment? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0. All right, next item, item 7B. Sorry. There. Request for qualification tenant improvements to Civic Center to reestablish Willows Police Department. Recommended action, authorize the city manager to prepare and release a request for qualifications to engage an architectural engineering firm to design tenant improvements to the interior of the south wing of the Civic Center and administrative offices in order to reestablish the Willows Police Department. Contact Marty Brown, city manager.
So the item that's before the council is to look at a request for qualifications, which is a little different than a request for proposals because both Mike and I, when we talked about it, really had no idea what something like this would cost. And so when you don't know what budget to attach to an RFP process, oftentimes people take this approach instead, where you seek qualifications from people to see who has the best qualifications for the proposed project. And then when you know, have a preferred candidate, you start talking about budget, and oftentimes they'll give you some initial budgetary numbers, but it won't be fully solidified in the proposal or really what's called statement of qualifications that you get from them. So we thought that this would be a better approach since neither of us are architects or engineers or designers, and we don't quite know what we'd be looking at. As a reminder, the council did approve going out with a full-on RFQ for looking at a variety of different proposals and ideas for improvements both to the building, an addition on the building, modular type buildings, maybe in the parking lot or the adjacent vacant lot that the city also owns here. And we did that RFQ process. We did not get a single response. It included not only the physical tenant improvements, but the request was also for a team of experts that could also look at hard and soft costs, which probably, that was a tall order. And so that including like software and equipment that we would need and IT and like the whole kit and caboodle, if you will, of everything that would be needed to reestablish a police department, not just the physical structure. And I think that's probably why we didn't get a response because that's very different sets of skills and expertise. So we went through that whole process and now we're here and we're moving forward quickly with reestablishing the police department and recruiting a police chief. And when Mike and I talked about it, I had said, my concern is like, where is the chief going to sit and be physically located? And then as he or she is recruiting patrol officers and building the police department, where will those people be housed? Because we're really not set up at this point anymore to be a police department. And so it seemed imperative to move quickly on starting to actually rebuild the physical structure. We talked about it, and in your previous report, law enforcement report that was done by Brian Uller of Municipal Resource Group, and Mike and I have talked about it. We think the 4,500 square feet on the other side, out here, the main city hall side, is sufficient for the 7 full-time administrative staff and a police department of 12, 13, something like that, which is probably what it would end up being at the end of the day, if it was restructured. I mean, right now, that side of the hall, there's a lot of empty void space. It's not well utilized at all. It isn't well configured at all. It's really great and spacious for the 7 of us, but I don't think 7 of us need 4,500 square feet. So, and that doesn't include council chambers, the library, or the kitchen. It includes all the hallway space, all that side of City Hall, the rec room, the hallway, which, you could have 2 go-karts go down the center of it, and also the council's office. So that's our little garage off the administration side. So all of that is about 4,500 square feet in our conference room as well. So we thought that that's sufficient space if it was reconfigured for a police department and the 7 administrative staff. And we probably didn't need to do an addition on the building or certainly not at this time or necessarily have other temporary or permanent modular buildings in parking lot at this time. So we wanted to get going because, like I said, we hire a police chief and we start building the department with people and personnel, and we just don't know where they're going to work, how that's all going to fit together. IT would have to be upgraded. There's a lot of kinds of safety requirements for, according to the DOJ and the state. I'm sure Councilmember Hanson could speak to that, of the kind of requirements. And so just hiring a police chief to come sit in the office next to mine or in the office where the planner used to sit at this end is like really could only last a few minutes. Like that's not going to be as long, especially as that person wants to start hiring personnel. So this seemed like a good time to look at the RFQ process and really try to figure out a budget and moving forward concurrently while we're also hiring and recruiting for police chief.
Sounds good. Questions, Vice Mayor Thomas?
No, I think it's a critical next step. We got to have a facility for it, and remodeling this facility is, from everything that I could see, the most efficient cost that we could have. So I would support this.
Councilmember?
I don't disagree, but as we've talked in the past, my concern is just, getting there, so to speak. So if we're going to be completely renovating the 4,500 square feet, that means our offices are going to be completely displaced. So, what is going to be the cost of, modulars, moving all the technology, making bathrooms, all of the things for our employees while we renovate it. So I get we have to do it, but specifically, what's the cost of the temporary quarters? What's the cost of disruption of services? How long does it take to move everybody out? Are we out of service for a week? Are we out of service for 2 days? What's that cost look like? We've purchased new phone systems and new systems recently. Is that money that now is gone and we have to do something different? How do we store those things that we've used if we're not using them so we don't lose their value? How does Tyler Technology transition from the building out there? How does that impact our building permit process, our business license process, our budgeting, our payroll? So I just have all these questions, which as we do an RFQ, to get a cost of what's it going to cost to change it, it's like, what's it going to cost to vacate and then go back in? And how long is that going to be? And what effect is that going to have on the community as well? So again, we have to do something. I was always kind of an advocate of seeing if we could do a separate building, but it just sounds like from law enforcement that even though they have law enforcement modulars, they're still not safe enough. So that's out. So there's no good solutions, but I do see that the community would need to be understanding that I think we will have a period of time where we're maybe limping along a bit.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, as a person with an urban planning background, which I really am a planner, this whole process is not comfortable because we're not doing exactly what you're talking about, Councilmember Pride. But I also realize it seems like at this point we just have to move, right? So some things have to be figured out in real time, even though it's not my comfort level, but I'm just going with it because I feel like that's what we got to do.
I'm just thinking as part of that RFQ, depending on that expertise, that they're also aligning for us the modulars, the cost to move, the power hookups, the water hookups, the bathroom facilities, moving the technology, all those things, because that's a cost that could surprise us if we're not making it a quantifiable part of that project.
Councilmember Lowe?
It appears that this is the most cost-effective way to do it. We're kind of building the plane as we're flying it, but we have to move forward. I think we have to. I would like to get a better idea of maybe what that RFQ, how we can put it out there where it's successful and we get some replies back, because we are in Willows.
Well, both Mike and I have somebody I've worked with, Kensington, who built a apartment. Mike, you gave me 2 firms that have got through your contacts that have built police departments. And I think that by narrowing the scope to really just focusing on the architecture, the design and engineering, and not trying to do the soft costs and the other things that they don't have expertise at, I think that we have a better shot this time, because we'll be just focusing on what their skill set is instead of asking them to do other things outside of the realm.
Just another thought, as I was talking about modular buildings not meeting requirements for law enforcement, as we talk to them, maybe keep in the back of our mind that what would it look like to do modular buildings for administration and put law enforcement more in here and just maybe, just as an option, maybe not do all the structural complete renovations. If we have to do some kind of modulars and temporary buildings anyway, what would be the difference between doing it short term versus just doing it long term? So instead of putting police out there, putting admin and tying it all together nicely. So any of you working in the office don't feel like you're in the boonies or anything, but just looking at those two, flip it type thing.
Councilmember Hanson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I understand your concerns, Lori. Completely understand, and they are legitimate concerns. And John, I appreciate what you just said. This building, built 1969, has a lot of angles in it. There's triangle rooms, there's angled rooms, there's, as we know, this is a beautiful council chamber, nice and roomy, but the acoustics are a little difficult up here, but you can't, nothing's perfect. But there's, really wide hallways. There's just a lot of wasted space, not to mention the angled rooms and the hallways anyway, formerly housed a police department, and the Willows PD actually had outgrown the old facilities where they were at. Willows PD was initially put in the back when this building was built in 1969. I don't know why the police department was put in the back parking lot, but that's where it was. Okay. Or most people in Willows didn't even know where the police department was. They'd go to the sheriff's office because they didn't know where the PD was. So anyway, so that's not going to happen next time, but there's a lot of wasted space in here. I have faith in our city team. They're resilient. They have to be to work here, right? This is Willows. All right. This is a unique situation. Our team's resilient. They're going to get this done. We've got the throttle full forward. All right. We're going as fast as we can. This is the best solution right here. We have the room in the building. I know that the team will be able to make it work. It's going to be, things are going to be in turmoil for a few months, but we'll get it done. And we need to, to establish police facilities that are adequate for the agency, for the community, and we need to get this done for the community as fast as we can. So I'm in complete agreement of moving forward with this. Let's get some talent out there and make it work. Will there be bumps in the road? Oh, absolutely. There always is, but we'll get through it. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I do have a question. The back room of the library that was used for storage. No, that room. The other side of this wall.
Get turned around.
Yeah. Is that filled with stuff already? I don't wander back there, so I didn't know.
The city librarian has definitely settled into that space for sure. Yeah, her
Okay.
office is back there. There's lots of bookshelves back there. And then I would say 2/3 of it is the new sort of creative maker space, art space for youth, young people.
I was just trying to, I knew it was a lot of storage space and kind of dead space. I know after we had the.
Anymore.
No, it's actually.
Well, and I was just kind of hoping that we could possibly use that to move you guys instead of having to look at renting modules or whatever for you to use. So, that's why I was just asking that question. So, with that, I will go to public comment regarding item 7B, request for qualifications, tenant improvements to Civic Center to reestablish Willows Police Department.
Michelle Knight.
First, I'd like to express my full support for beginning the process for making improvements, retrofitting, and reestablishing the Willows Police Department space. Within the discussion and analysis section of the attached document, it states, based on this assessment, staff recommend proceeding with a new request for qualifications to solicit a qualified architectural and engineering firm to work with city staff to develop plans and specifications for tenant improvements within the south wing of the Civic Center. I sincerely hope that the city will include Mr. Maloney and or the future police chief as active participants in the city staff team responsible for evaluating, developing, and approving these plans. Their involvement would provide valuable operational and law enforcement expertise that may not otherwise be available through general city staff. I also believe that the public should have an opportunity to understand and review these recommendations as the planning process moves forward. The reestablishment of the police department presents a significant opportunity throughout the design to thoughtfully design a facility that will meet the department's operational needs, not only today, but well into the future. My opinion, investing additional resources during the planning and design phase to ensure that the facility is properly designed from the outset can ultimately save the city considerable costs associated with modifications, retrofitting, or corrective work later. More importantly, involving individuals with direct law enforcement experience may help identify operational safety and security, regulatory, and statutory requirements that general city staff or outside professionals may not otherwise recognize. By incorporating the expertise of Mr. Maloney and/or the future police chief early in the planning process, the city can help ensure that the facility is designed correctly the first time, minimizing unnecessary future expenditures, and provides an effective and appropriate environment for the reestablishment of the police department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then Isaiah, I believe this is the one that I had. Okay. That's it. Okay, with that. Council comments. Vice Mayor Thomas.
No, I would move to approve item 7B as presented.
I'll second that.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0. Next item up, item 7C, Neighborhood Watch Program. Authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Crime Free Living to assist the city of Willows in establishing a neighborhood watch program and the amount not to exceed $16,000. Contact Marty Brown, city manager.
So I'm not going to do a presentation because I did one last time, but this is back on the agenda at the direction of Mayor Hudson. And I believe it also was mentioned at the meeting to continue it to this meeting. So nothing has changed since the last recommendation in the last council meeting, nor has the budget for it. And I think it's, unless you've got specific questions, I think it's just open for council discussion and consideration.
Okay. Any questions from the council, Vice Mayor Thomas?
No, as I said before, if the grassroots coalition gets off the ground and they're functioning well and their group is held together and it's actually happening, I'm worried that grassroots sometimes start real strong and then they fade with participation. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I'm not opposed to the city contributing towards this particular neighborhood watch program. But I would want to make sure that once we expend the $16,000, it continues and we have some assurances that the program is on its way. I was unable to attend the town hall, so I don't know how many people you had there and what went down and what was the nature of the enthusiasm for such establishment.
Well, I'll just pick up where he left off because I was able to go to the town hall and Tim Truby was there, which was great. So he was able to do a presentation for those that participated. What I found interesting, I think I didn't count, but Marlena said there were 39 people in attendance. And as I looked at the crowd, I would say over half of them did not live in the city limits. They lived in Northeast Willows, North Willows, west of Willows, but not in Willows. When they asked how many people would be supportive of a neighborhood watch program, several people raised their hands, and then they asked to, wait a minute, those of you who live in Willows, and I think 11 people raised their hands. So overall, I think it was a well-done presentation. I think there's merit to the concept. I think for me, if I was going to say, let's spend some money on a consultant to help guide that process, and I'm looking at Michelle and Kat because they're some of the leaders of that effort. I think you had 200 people, I think they said from Facebook who said, we're interested, but again, we only had the people show up who showed up. That's a function of the night or whatever. But I think for me sitting up here as a council looking at $16,000, I would go back to your group and say, let's do a little more work and let's see who we can seriously get to the table. That if we can commit loosely at this point, that we agree that it's something that can move forward positively, but we really need to see that commitment. I know Tim said it's important to have these watch groups distributed throughout the community. I don't think we saw that at the town hall meeting. So I think getting very specific about reaching, and I don't know the terminology in neighborhood watch, but finding that person that would agree to be the captain or whoever for their neighborhood and build a little bit more of a grassroots effort and then come back to the council and say, we're ready now to have some more leadership and training and direction. And in the meantime, you're just doing that. You're just building true support and commitment. Because that would be a shared concern I have. Everyone's gung-ho and we start down the path and we've expended the money and then it just kind of falters. I like the idea also of just our timing with bringing back law enforcement, because that question was asked as well. It's like, well, I don't know who the lady who said it. She goes, well, who do we go to for law enforcement? And the consultant said, that's a good question. You know, that's something we're working on. So I see the opportunity to do a really dovetailed thing where you're building support in the community. We're building, you know, getting to where we have a law enforcement agency coming on board. As we move those both forward and we can then invest money into the program, then it's something that maybe law enforcement is then able to become the watchdog, you know, the who they go to. So that would be my take on it. I also said the opportunity, and Chief Monk, this is kind of your cup of tea, is if we had a neighborhood watch program, and as we finalize our Willows municipal code, my goal when we get that finalized is that we're doing a lot of education about our code. But if we have a neighborhood watch program, why not also train these people into maybe code type stuff? They could be neighborhood watch for, you know, those nuisances that start to create, and maybe they can nip it in the bud much sooner than it coming to a city code enforcement thing. So I can see where engaging these citizens in their neighborhoods could be a very positive thing on many levels, but I would want to see more people in the seats saying, yes, we really do want to commit to this.
Councilmember Lowe?
I can appreciate the grassroots effort by those in the community wanting to provide some solutions. There's some real work going on there. I also understand that the city council has tasked the staff with coming up with solutions to provide some security, some ideas how to protect the community. And this was staff's recommendation. I would like to see some more time and give the community some time to work on this and see how it turns out before we commit to spending this money.
Councilmember Hanson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with my colleagues. I was on the fence last time. I remembered I generally asked the individuals that were here if you wanted the help, then sure, I'd be in favor of it. And Kat and Michelle, if you know, really, I ask the same thing. You know, if you want the professional help, I'd be in favor of it. If we need to do some more, you know, if the groups need to do some more groundwork, you know, I'd be in favor. You know, whatever is best for the community. That's where I'm at. Like, how's that for a non-answer? I could go either way. If you know, a neighborhood watch programs are great, but obviously you have to have the involvement and the sustained involvement. And it would be great to have the professional, you know, coordination help as well, right? So just to make sure, you know, it's operated efficiently and correctly. But that's where I'm at. If I don't know, I generally try to answer questions directly. I probably am not answering this question very well at all. But looks like I'm walking the fence. But that's where I'm at. So if the group wants the help, I'd be in favor of it, fully supportive. If the group doesn't want the help yet and wants to hold off for a while, that's where I'm at. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
I have no questions, so we will go to public comment.
Kathleen Wise.
Thank you, Lori, for coming to our meeting. We really appreciate it. The night we had our town hall meeting, we had county members who showed to want to help our city here, which is great. But they also want community help out there too in their own little community. We would appreciate the help. We think this is a great idea. But first we have to get enough people here in Willows who really want it. And we all understand that it takes time, commitment, and everything else. So I'm asking maybe to table this another 6 months to see if we can recruit this, if the town really wants this help.
And I would just say, you know, it doesn't need to wait 6 months. I would say if you're continuing to engage people, just keep giving us updates through staff. If there's help that we can give in that outreach in any way, if you're having town hall meetings, I know we don't want to just say, you know, go do more work. But I just don't want to pay a consultant yet unless they're really going to be able to go knock on doors for you and try and get more people involved.
I agree with all of you, actually.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time.
Well, Kat, thank you. Answered my question. Thank you. Thanks.
Michelle Knight.
I too just want to say thank you all for offering that. City manager as well. It does appear to be a great program, just to let you know that. We really appreciated Mr. Truby for coming over and you inviting him over. It seems really well structured and we really appreciated that. But I agree with all of you that we should probably hold off on this for now, but and then we can report back. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle.
Any more public comment? Okay. Any more comments, Vice Mayor Thomas?
Nope.
Councilmember Pride?
Nope.
Councilmember Lowe?
No.
Councilmember Hanson?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, so I do remember at our last meeting, we did talk about bringing this back. Initially, you guys were like, no, we want to make sure we have our meeting and we think we can get this going. I do feel like there's a little bit of a catch-22 in there. It's, you guys are trying to start something new that really I probably haven't done before. I don't know your background. And so I feel like there's a catch-22 in there where, hey, you could use the expert to, this is where you need to get started. But then also at the same time, we got to get started before we know that we have the participation involved. One thing that is, I've seen it slowly dying as time goes on is volunteerism. It's harder and harder to find people to volunteer. And so that's always a big concern. So I do agree with my constituents that we, my council members, that we do keep this in our back pocket. Whether it's something where we go out to an outside company to come in and help set up the neighborhood watch, or maybe it's a factor that the Willis PD helps us assemble that as well. That's also a possibility to where, hey, we're not paying money out. Instead, our officers are investing their time into our community in that manner as well. So with that, I will leave it to the pleasure of the council.
I just also wanted to mention, I didn't mention this before, that Marlena Sparkman also asked for this to be on tonight's agenda. By the time she had done that, you had already confirmed you wanted it on there, Mayor. So
I do apologize. I was not able to make that meeting that evening. I had an accident with one of my kids, so I was busy attending there. So, yeah. So with that, I'll leave it to the pleasure of the council.
I would say that we just let it kind of go, and with the intention of you guys keeping us informed. And if we need to bring it back, just let us know.
Yeah,
So
I'd agree to table the matter as well.
We'll table this matter and wait for, you guys have a Justice League name for your group? You guys have like a Justice League name for your group? What's the neighborhood watch group? Did you guys come up with like a name? Community watch? Okay, we'll wait for the community watch group to bring it back to the council.
Are you Willow Strong? Willow Strong?
Okay. Like Justice League, right? Sorry. I have kids. Comics are a big part of my life. With that, we will go on to item 7D, City Council Committee Assignments and Appointments. Recommended action with a newly appointed council member. Reconsider City Council Committee assignments and appoint council members to vacant positions. All right.
We just go John.
Marty, do you have anything to say on this, or are you just letting us go?
I think you
letting
should
us
just
loose on it.
Go for it. I just would say that, I mean, it's also an opportunity for you to reassign yourselves if you want, or if you just want to fill the vacancies. Keep in mind, please, that Councilmember Lowe is also on the Municipal Code Ad Hoc Committee. And I also want to remind you that you will be doing this process again as usual in December. So, I mean, that's only 4 months away. So you might want to just, right now deal with the vacancies. That's it.
Okay. With that, I was going to go through the vacancies first, and then if you guys have any other adjustments you would like to make, we can start at the top and work our way down.
Mr. Mayor,
yes,
if I may, I'm satisfied with my current assignments, and I chair some of those committees, and definitely entrenched with them. I'd be comfortable to keep this real simple if my colleagues agree, and just have Councilmember Lowe assume Councilmember Busby's appointments, with the exception of the Measure I Finance Oversight Committee, because you as the mayor, you're the alternate. It was Matt Busby and Rick Thomas, and now yourself, Evan, you and Rick. because you're been on the council for, a significant period of time now and very, you as well are extremely familiar with the issues. And I think that'd be unfair to put John in that position. I'm not saying John couldn't handle it, but just coming on the council, there is a learning curve to, municipal government operations. So that's what I'd be satisfied with, like I said, just having John take over Matt's former assignments with the exception of the Measure I oversight. And as Marty indicated, he does have a heavy lift with the municipal code review work coming in. And that will definitely be an education for you, John. So that's my position, just my comments for whatever it's worth.
Are there any further questions? I was just trying to go over the general guideline of what I was thinking, but is there any questions regarding this item?
I mean, to keep it just simple and then, John could look at those assignments. I was thinking what Councilmember Hanson said, that you would recommend that the mayor move into the primary and maybe John's the alternate, that we plug him in there still. And then just on the Glen Waste Management Regional, I've been attending and there's a meeting Thursday at 10:30, which I'm planning to attend. So, I mean, if we put you in that spot, that would be something, if you're available, you could still go and listen in as opposed to just showing up. And they don't have a quorum unless one of us goes. So you would actually be in the seat and voting. So I'm still comfortable going to that one. I just wanted to mention that's a meeting that's after tomorrow.
Okay. Is there any public comment regarding our committee appointments? Okay. With that, I'm going to go down the list as to kind of how I had put it. So for the Glenn County Waste Management Regional Agency, Lori, I had moved you up as to the primary since you were the alternate and you've been attending them. Considering that this matter is coming back in December, so it's
okay. So you're going up to primary.
I was just going to put you as a primary, and Councilmember Lowe would be the alternate.
Okay.
Alternate.
Alternate.
And then the library board, Councilmember Pride, I did list you on that one because you had been attending the meetings as well. And so I was just, for the sake of, you had already been attending them, I wanted to at least give you the first option to that. I have no problem pointing Mr. Councilmember Lowe to that.
I wouldn't mind doing it at least till December, only because we're going to be seating the new board of trustees, and I wouldn't mind they'll meet in October, and there probably won't be another meeting until we redo committee assignments. So just to see that through, maybe for now, yes.
Okay.
Have me on that one.
And then City and County Economic Development Steering Committee, I did put Councilmember Lowe in there. For Finance and Oversight Committee meeting, I did put Councilmember Lowe on that. And then I actually took myself out of the alternate and put you as the alternate for that.
You're no longer the alternate.
I was taking myself out of the alternate position because I have not attended any of those meetings. I've only watched them on YouTube. And I know Councilmember Pride has attended them. And I'm just pointing out my ability to attend some of these meetings.
So, and just to comment on that, we'll have another one coming up, I believe, in October, but we've also talked about completely restructuring that. And I would like that to come back to council, because what's happened with that committee is that everything financial is being talked about with 2 council members present. And then unless all that information comes back to the whole council, we don't get that same level of discussion unless we watch the meeting. And so I don't think it was intended to really be for Measure I transparency, and then we made it kind of the financial. But it's not well attended, for one. I think sometimes I'm the only person in the audience. For 2, there's a lot of staff expending a lot of energy on passing on all this financial information to 2 council members when we could be doing us. Anyway, we talked about changing that. And I think we need to come back and have that discussion about how that committee is
I
functioning.
don't think that the council ever came to a firm.
We didn't come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
No, other than, I believe when I went back and looked at some of our past minutes,
It was
For
brought up.
discussion.
It was brought up, but I don't
Yes.
think we ever made a decision
it
on
was
it.
brought up and it was said, we need to talk about this more. And that
Yeah.
just has never.
I always
So-
viewed the Finance and Measure I oversight quarterly meetings was for the benefit of the citizens show, because we outline where all of the sales tax comes in, the Measure I sales tax, and where it all goes.
Mhm.
Now, it's all available, and yes, the meetings are not very well attended. I don't know how many people are online. But everybody talks about we need forensic accounting. Where's the money going? Well, this finance committee actually tells everybody where it goes. And I don't know what the additional staff time is, but I thought it was primarily designed to give the people information as to where their money was going, because that was a commitment we made when we supported Measure I.
It is, that's correct.
But we
And I
also-
think that it'll be a good item for us to bring back instead of having the discussion right now during the
Agreed.
committee appointment.
So
So-
along that same line, the paper we got, Marty, says the finance committee has never been defined. It has been the Measure I oversight. That needs to be updated. Show you that. And then the city and county's economic development steering committee. As far as I know, they've never had a meeting.
They've never have.
Have not.
So maybe that should have two council members working on Willow's economic
Well-
structure.
What I would like to do, and it's not agendized for tonight, so I was going to do it under council reports. It's been brought up in numerous platforms that we really need to have some kind of a economic development committee. I believe Orland has one. This is kind of a city county. I mean, we're just not using that. I'd like to see us talking about forming a committee that maybe has two council members, a Chamber of Commerce rep, a business, just some people from the community that meet regularly and talk about economic development, particularly if we're going to be getting some deliverables from the rural development grant that we've approved tonight, and just see how that works. But I really think that we do need to have some people regularly meeting. I think even working with Joe, our community development director, what projects are coming through. We'd have to define what the purpose of that was, but I
Well,
do think some
My
level,
point was that
something.
you need to, this should be brought back for discussion when you have time.
Yes.
Because I think having at least two council members focused on following economic development and making sure that if we get deliverables from our approved contractor, then we could actually move forward with some of that. And maybe it would be, if we have the budget for it, a part-time EDC person. Certainly should be something that could be discussed in expanding that, because that committee doesn't do anything.
So can we bring back?
Except for the
our
ones you
committee?
just got appointed to, don't ever meet either.
Can we
So
bring our
not as
committees back
detrimental as you
to?
might think.
Can we bring our committees back to a different, later agenda item to discuss?
Committees? It's the
Well,
one
I think,
finance
can we do a general oversight of the committees? Or does it
Just
have to be
discussion
each
of the
one,
Appointment, but just discussion about structure.
discussion about the structures and everything
Sure.
else? Then
But-
that way we can actually have this conversation and actually be able to make the changes versus.
Yeah, just for historical context, the city and county's economic development steering committee was an active committee years ago when Jody Samons was a county employee before she retired from Glenn County government. And after Jody retired, no more meetings were held. So, and that was an active meeting. We met quarterly. So that has expired, long expired, but that's why it's here. So it was an active committee. I and others served on that committee, and we did make some progress, but it's been years now. So just for historical content.
Okay. And then, so the Finance and Oversight Committee, like I said, I put Councilmember Lowe as the main person there, and then Councilmember Pride as the alternate. And then Council Liaison to the Chamber of Commerce, I did keep that as Councilmember Lowe, filling in for Busby.
And John, they meet on the third Monday at 5:30 at Twisted Twigs. So they've gotten to a very regular meeting schedule. Third Monday, 5:30.
Marty, you'll get us a new updated sheet.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So just to, if I could recap really quickly, you're only filling
Go
the
ahead.
positions that, former Councilmember Busby was in those committees, right? With Glenn County Waste Management, sorry. Councilmember Pride is the primary, Councilmember Lowe is the alternate. Library Board, Councilmember Pride is the primary. City and County Economic Development Steering Committee, even though they don't seem to meet, Councilmember Pride and Councilmember Lowe. Finance and Measure I Committee, Vice Mayor Thomas, Councilmember Lowe is the primary, Councilmember Pride is the alternate. Council Liaison and Chamber of Commerce, Councilmember Lowe.
That's what I
Right.
have down.
Okay.
Is everyone okay with that?
That's what I have. Yep. Sounds
You
good.
Are you good with your new appointments?
I'm drinking from a fire hose right now, so that's fine.
Yeah,
Other
you
duties.
could ask the chief to turn it off, but I don't know if it'd help right now.
Other duties is assigned.
All right. With that, we'll move on to item 8A, council correspondence. I do not have any. Does anybody have any council
I do.
correspondence?
Some anonymous donor left on one of our public works vehicles a envelope for the Willows Museum. And it is full of historical documents, pictures. I think they're for Ord Ferry or Ord Bend Church School. This one's 1934-35. This one's 38-39, 40 and 41. There's a grammar school certificate for one Layla Bernice Lovall in 1916, her grammar school certificate to teach. So I will turn these matters over to Gary, who is on the library board or on the museum board. So there's a handwritten letter from 1873, I think. So it's some interesting stuff. I don't know any of these people because I wasn't around in 1940. But, and there's a 1960 wagon wheel.
I didn't hear where you received those, Rick.
It was left in an envelope on one of the public works vehicles.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
So
Wow.
it's anonymous. Now, it appears a lot of the documents show names of Lila Bernice Lovall, handwritten note letter from Anthony Lovall in 1875. And on the back of some of the pictures, it says J. Fox, which I was able to determine seems to be Jack Fox. But I don't know any of those people.
I'll gladly get in the library. I mean, I'm sorry. I did too. Museum. It used to be the library. The museum. Rick,
Museum.
thank you.
All right. Any other council correspondence?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. City council comments and reports. Vice Mayor Thomas.
I just gave mine.
Okay. Councilmember Pride.
All right. So I mentioned the Waste Management Regional Meeting is Thursday. The Chamber of Commerce is moving, which I think is extremely exciting. They're moving downtown. They're going to be right next door to Tacos 88. They are going to be still with their regular schedule, but they're trying to bring in local products. So they'll actually have a little bit of, promoting local products and just causing another reason for folks to visit the chamber. So they're moving this week. That's very exciting. They'll be doing a grand opening at some point. So stay tuned for that. Evan and I attended the ambulance ad hoc meeting yesterday. We have library board of trustee interviews scheduled for tomorrow. Wanted to confirm we're still on schedule for Friday at 11 for the municipal code kickoff
Yes, we are.
party. I hate to call it a meeting. It's going to be dry, probably. And then I mentioned an economic development committee of some sort, whether it's two of us or not. We've talked about that at length tonight, but I would like to make sure that comes up. I think it came up last, spring of 25, it was mentioned. So we keep mentioning it, but we haven't done it. I think stars are lining up with the rural development grant. So if we can be focusing on getting something like that going. The other thing that's come up a couple of times with our city attorney is just updates on projects that you're working on. And so I thought, those things that are appropriate to give updates on, maybe we could have quarterly or even just once a month that as part of this last part of the agenda, where we have a city manager's report, we'd also have just a city attorney report, just quick updates on where those basic city projects are. You know, the council does hire and we do have a direct reporting line with our city attorney. And I know for me, sometimes I don't even know what you've been asked to do. And so, you know, it's just a way for the council to be maybe a little more in sync with what's going on. So I would leave that at the discretion, you know, monthly, quarterly. Again, I understand there's going to be some things that you can't talk about, but if we're doing just basic city, like municipal code or contracts or whatever. Lastly, I just want to throw out there that after we did the interviews to appoint city council, you know, there's a real gap in our camera footage where the camera somewhere up here that people could see staff when staff are talking. They could see if we have something else set up. I don't know if it's possible and if it would be, you know, not very expensive. I watched our last meeting online from Colorado, and it's hard to hear you staff sometimes, can't see who's talking. I mean, the Orland Council meetings, the staff's all sitting there, they're on camera, you see who's talking. I think another camera would be a service to people that aren't able to be here in person. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Lowe. Nothing. Okay. Councilmember Hanson.
Good report, John. Well, want to welcome.
Take a listen, Gary.
It'll only be 20 minutes, just 20 minutes. Councilmember Lowe, would like to welcome you to the council. Congratulations. Look really forward to working with you and getting to know you better. So thank you for stepping up and thank you for being here and welcome. So with that briefly, the latest meetings, Glen Groundwater Authority regular monthly meeting was held on August 10th. We continue to work on demand management. It's all demand management. It's full throttle till the end of the year because that's our deadline, December 31st, and we will make the deadline. Likewise, we had our monthly joint Glen Groundwater Authority, Inclusive Groundwater Authority meeting. We alternate between Willows and Colusa. This meeting was in Colusa. It was on August 14th, that following Friday. Again, groundwater demand management and water accounting, and that's what we're working on. To that tune, in partnership with the Colusa Groundwater Authority, the Glen Groundwater Authority and the Glen County Resource Conservation District will be sponsoring what we're calling a Colusa Subbasin Sigma 201 Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. This is going to be outlining what the demand management concept and the water accounting system is going to look like after December 31st when we finish the work that we've been doing for the last 2 years. So it's informative. There's going to be 2 open houses. The first one will be at Granzella's restaurant at the Granzella's Banquet Hall, and it's going to be on Wednesday, September 2nd from 1 to 2 p.m., followed by an open house. So it's 1 hour on Wednesday, September 2nd in Williams at Granzella's. The following day on Thursday, September 3rd, there will be an open house as well, describing the groundwater demand management and water accounting system at Glen Success Square in Orland from 1 to 2 p.m. That's on Thursday, September 3rd. I'll be there. Our consultant, Jeff Davids from Davids Engineering, will be the primary presenter. He holds a doctorate in water, and he knows what he's talking about. So anyway, for anybody interested, no reservations needed. It's also going to be broadcast live online as well for anyone who would like to participate. So with that, and lastly, we held our monthly Glen County Transportation Commission meeting on August 20th. There was no Regional Transit Committee meeting. There was a lack of business, so we did not have an RTC meeting this month. However, we did hold the Transportation Commission meeting, and it was routine business. It was a short meeting. And that's all I had, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Couple of the same items. Had the ambulance ad hoc committee, which was a good conversation. Still moving forward with some of our options for that to hopefully keep providing ambulance services and see where that's going to lead us as far as a community in Glen County. I wanted to do a quick shout out to Public Works. They were out in the back over here trimming these bushes, using some of the new equipment that they've received over the last couple of years since we've passed the Measure I It's glad to see those tools being utilized and seeing it make their job a little bit easier to do rather than having to heft all those branches in the back of the truck. They're able to use their loader. We did have a Glenn County Transportation Committee meeting in that, and the only question that I brought up was what the heck was going on with 162, because last we heard there's nothing happening until 2030. And as you can see, they are doing, can't remember the proper term, but they're taking off the top layer and then just repaving it. So it's not as in-depth as the large project. This is not the large project. They're just fixing a couple of the rough spots, mainly the 162 and Tehama intersection, or Wood Street and Tehama intersection, which has been really rough the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to drive over that and, not hit my head on the ceiling, or test the limits of my seatbelt. So, yeah, that's about it.
And on top, in that same frame of discussion, it's the Caltrans local maintenance yard, Willows Maintenance Yard, doing that work, because our Caltrans rep had no idea either. So kudos to our local maintenance yard for fixing the stair at 162 Tehama Street intersection. So thank you.
Yeah, I did receive more information on it, but I haven't had a chance to read the full email. It had a map and some colorful images to click, and I didn't get a chance to do that. And then same as Councilmember Hanson, Councilmember Lowe, welcome. Honored to have you here and look forward to having many discussions at this council with you. So thank you. With that, we will call this meeting adjourned at, oh, sorry, Marty, I was trying.
Quick.
City manager report.
Just want to remind
Nate C.
everybody that we're going to have the Willows Water Fest on September 10th from 4 to 8 in Central Park. And this is heavily sponsored and funded by Cal Water to celebrate their 100th anniversary and to continue the city's continued 140th birthday year celebrations as well. And some of the activities that will be included are a drawing by Cal Water for a water efficient washing machine, and a free barbecue, live music by Whitewater, face painting, kids cardboard boat race, water themed activities, a bounce house. And last thing I want to mention is we are also looking for vendors. So if people who want to do food, for example, or a mobile food truck, or any other vendors you want to mention, snacks, any of that would like to come to the event and sell their wares, they're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I do want to say this is one of the first city council meetings in a very long time that has not had closed session. So that's great. Everything's out in the public today.
Exciting.
So thank you. We'll call this meeting adjourned at 8:47. Have a good night.
Thank you all for coming.
Well, John.
Well,